afternoon. You're watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jes Delos Santos. Let's take a look at how the local bourse closed today, Friday. Okay, the benchmark ending strong this week, rising 0.7% to 7,382. This after the government just released a new vaccine mandate requiring it among workers in areas with enough vaccine stock. Otherwise, the unvaccinated will be required to undergo regular testing at their own expense. This new rule comes at a time when vaccination is picked up, especially in NCR, and when restrictions have eased due to decreasing infection rate. Those developments have pushed shares higher by 4.7%. As you can see in this chart right here, we have increased close to 5%. That's over a 9-day period, pushing the index here higher than the rest of its peers here in Asia. But Manny Ocampo of Investment and Capital Corporation of the Philippines says it's likely that the local bourse will enter a consolidation phase as the third quarter earnings near conclusion. He says investors will now look into last quarter earnings rather in the fourth quarter, where consumer stocks are expected to have a good pickup for the holiday season. That's amid more relaxed restrictions. Speaking of earnings, that weighed on some stocks today here. Let's take a look at our leaders and laggards here. You have JG Summit reporting a net loss of 2.4 billion pesos for the 9-month period, but still eked out gains here today, up by 1.6%, as you can see right here. Globe, on the other hand, saw a higher third quarter net income at 4.9 billion pesos, but still ended the day in the red, down by 1.2%. Joining Globe in the negative zone is its parent Ayala Corporation. If you try to take a look at the 9-month figure here for Ayala Corporation, you'd see net income jumping by 70% to 19.4 billion pesos, with revenue also higher by 19% to 182.5 billion pesos. This as most business units posted positive growth in the period, not to mention gains from divesting its thermal assets over at AC Health's acquisition as well of Qualimed Health Network. Now, among core units, Ayala Land posted the biggest growth for the 9-month period, up by 35% in net income. BPI and Globe's gains more muted here, while AC Energy increased by 22%. President Fernando Zubel de Ayala is hoping for a more positive trajectory now that the pace of inoculation has picked up. Investors, though, still decided to let go of the stock today, decreasing 0.3% to 880 apiece. Like what we mentioned, we're still in the thick of the earnings season. We have PNB reporting a net income of 24.3 billion pesos in the 9 months to September. Now, the bank's net interest income from January to September remained relatively flat. That's despite lower yields on loans and investments brought about by the prevailing interest rate environment. But in the third quarter, PNB's core operating income managed to climb 8%, spurred by sustained momentum in core lending and fee-based activities. PNB President and CEO Vic Veloso says the bank's third quarter performance shows that it's profitable despite the negative impact of the pandemic on their customers and the economy. Veloso says they're eyeing better figures in the coming months as the government further reopens the economy and allows more mobility. Now, hard lockdowns and elevated inflation dragged down JG Summit's balance sheet in the third quarter, derailing the company's recovery. The Gokongwei-led conglomerate posted a net loss of 3.38 billion pesos in the third quarter. That's a reversal from the over 800 million peso profit posted in the same period last year. Now, in the first 9 months, the firm incurred a net loss of 2.4 billion pesos. That's a turnaround from last year's 123 million peso earnings. President and CEO Lance Gokongwei admits that the third quarter presented challenges to some of our subsidiaries. The government had to impose hard lockdowns amid the Delta variant, while at the same time, inflation soared above government targets due to supply issues. At this rate, Gokongwei says JG Summit's financial health is seen to return to its pre-pandemic level by 2023. Now, Megawide's revenues in the first 9 months of the year climbed 27%. That's despite lower earnings in its land port and airport operations. The firm's total revenues jumped to 11 billion pesos in the January to September period, boosted by its construction segment, which grew by over 40%. However, revenue from land port operations is down 7% due to restrictions in foreign travel and lower office occupancy levels. The airport segment, meanwhile, posted a 63% drop in revenues, also due to international and local travel restrictions. Despite this, the firm notes that operations of its construction segment are starting to normalize with newly awarded projects such as the Megaworld's Newport Link project and the Phase 1 of the Malolos Clark Railway project. Now, many industries have adopted smart strategies and digital solutions as the pandemic dragged on, and that includes property management. But how exactly do you infuse tech in an industry that's still heavily reliant on physical work? Let's find out from software-based property management tool Inventi and its business development manager, Francis Henares. Good afternoon, Francis.
Hi, Jes. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, first, give us an idea. How exactly does Inventi work?
So, Inventi is a cloud-based software as a service for property management. Property management roughly has two sides:
Mhm.
facilities management and tenant management. And our software helps you manage both. So, on the facility side, it enables property managers to be more efficient in digitizing their work orders and property management operations. And then on the tenant side, we're able to offer tenant services such as filing gate passes, service requests, all in an online digital platform for our tenants and residents to use. So whether you're in a condominium, in an office building, or any sort of property, we can help you out.
Okay, what was the main pain point that you saw here that prompted you to actually come up with Inventi?
So our founders have very deep experience in real estate and IT development. So some of the pain points are a continued reliance on manual processes where we just hire more staff instead of resorting to technology. And when we do infuse technology into property management, it's very piecemeal solutions like Excel spreadsheets, emails, instant messaging, but it doesn't get to the heart of the problem, which is everything sort of relies on manual processes. So
Mhm.
what we're trying to do is create a software platform to digitize that whole process, reduce reliance on paper, reduce reliance on repetitive tasks that people have to do, reduce manual input to reduce the amount of errors from occurring from any sort of manual entry of information. So we're trying to digitize and automate that process to enable more efficiencies to happen in property management.
Okay, but at the same time, when you're talking about property management, it still cannot be 100% automated or digitalized, considering that still it would still require manual labor. So what share at least of the property management work can you digitalize?
It's a lot. You know, if you think about managing a property, a lot of it is very repetitive tasks from, keeping track of maintenance activities, from generating reports, from taking down meter readings. We're not trying to remove the
Mhm.
manual element. We're just trying to provide a digital platform where you can input all the information about your property. What maintenance work have you done? What service requests of tenants have you responded to, meter readings, consumption about utilities. All of that is into one system to sort of augment and enhance the manual processes of the property management team. We're not trying to replace it. We're just trying to provide kind of a unified knowledge database about that property. So at any point, you can look at what maintenance activities have been done, what maintenance activities still have to be done, and what can be done to make the tenants' lives more comfortable.
Okay, always, of course, when you're talking about automation, one of the major concerns would be human resources. Does this mean letting go of employees?
Mm. I think especially now since the pandemic, everyone's kind of struggling because we're trying to do the same amount of work with a more skeletal team, a team that perhaps has to work remotely. We're not really trying to replace people. We're just trying to make it easier, moving forward in this new normal where work from home and
Mhm.
skeletal workforce is so prevalent. We're just trying to provide sort of a platform for everyone to coordinate more effectively rather than necessarily replace people. We're
Mhm.
also trying to make teams more productive. So with the same team, you can achieve more in a day than you would if you were relying on manual processes. So in that way, our property management team can really focus on solving problems instead of dealing with the kind of day-to-day common repetitive tasks that perhaps we can just automate with
Mhm.
property management software.
All right, so it's all about saving time and effort as well. But at what
Yes.
cost or what price point are we talking about here?
Well, Jess, we're a Filipino company, so we're also incurring very locally based costs, which is very different from our competitors, who
Mhm.
perhaps are international companies with very high development fees. So, we're a Filipino company made in the Philippines for the Philippines and for Southeast Asia. So,
Mhm.
as for our price point, we price on a per square meter basis of gross floor area. But Jess, I can tell you that our per square meter price is very, very low. And some of the way we put it is you can hire one or two employees who can, be a little bit productive, a certain
Mhm.
amount productive during the day, or you can invest that money that you would have spent to hire one or two employees on our software and achieve so much more in terms of digitization and automation.
All right, great. So, of course, the expectation is that there's going to be a huge take up, especially since the pandemic started. Give us an idea. How's the take up so far, your client base for Inventi?
The take up's been great. In the early days of the pandemic, everyone was a little bit uncertain. So we struggled a little bit in early 2020, but since perhaps the second or third quarter of 2020, we've been doing really well. Most industries, property management and real estate included, have really turned to technology and digitization as to solve the challenges with of
Mhm.
the posed by the pandemic. That includes remote work, skeletal workforce, work from home, and social distancing within the workplace. So our take up has been really good this past year. And I can say that, since 2018, we've managed to double our revenues every year, and we're on track to exceed that, to do the same and actually exceed that in 2021.
What level of growth are you looking at for 2021?
We're looking at more than 100% growth in 2021.
All right, that's good. Okay, now given that, what's the potential for growth and scalability here, especially for Inventi? Are you limiting yourself to Metro Manila, and what's in the pipeline here?
So in terms of gross floor area, we always look at gross floor area for our property management software. Right now, we're implemented into around 2 million square meters of gross floor area. Metro Manila alone has 21 million square meters in kind of built up area. And then the Philippines as a whole has roughly double that. So within Metro Manila alone, we have scope to 10x our revenues. And then the Philippines double that of Metro Manila. But in the coming year, we're really looking to expand regionally. We are a Filipino company, but also built for the Southeast Asian market. So we're looking at countries like Indonesia and Vietnam for expansion in the coming year. But here locally, we haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg
Mhm.
in terms of expansion.
Okay, tapping Southeast Asia, most probably within 2022.
Definitely within 2022.
All right, let's see how that's going to pan out. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Again, Francis Henares, Business Development Manager of Inventi. Thank you, Francis. Stay safe.
Thanks so much, Jess. Stay safe.
And those are the biggest stories this trading day, November 12th, 2021. Catch Business World live again Monday next week at 9:30 a.m. for the market open and 3:15 p.m. for the market close. I'm Jes Delos Santos, and we are One News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe. Philippines, have a great weekend.